The year I turned 40, my husband had an affair. From marrying him at 20 until now, it had been exactly 20 years. Everyone around me said he had been good enough to me, handsome and wealthy, even giving me control over the household finances much better than most men. This betrayal, they said, was something I should endure. At first, I truly thought about tolerating it. The girl looked very young, probably 17 or 18, while my husband, Ethan Foster, had just turned 41 this year. Our daughter was already in college. The young girl came to me crying, begging me to accept her love for Ethan. Her eyes sparkled with the same reckless passion I once had, while I now had fine lines around my eyes and had discovered a gray hair just that morning. "Little girl, I could get a divorce," I said. I was only teasing her. But Nina Jiang didn't catch my sarcasm and blinked with delight. "Clara, would you really give up your marriage?" "Sure, and then what do you plan to do?" She pouted thoughtfully. "I want a honeymoon in the Maldives and then give him a son. You don't know how badly he wants a son, he's always asking me about it. Vivian says she's coming home for the long weekend. She wants you to pick her up." "Okay. Your mother isn't feeling well, she needs to see a doctor." "Okay, handle it as you see fit. The bathroom floor is slippery, I'm thinking of renovating it." "Fine, do as you suggested. Nina came to see me today." Ethan finally looked up from his bowl and glanced at me. His expression was indifferent, with a hint of coldness and confusion. "And then what?" His mistress had approached me, and he asks, "And then what?" I was accustomed to restraining myself, but his response left me speechless. I frowned at him. "Ethan, we're married. What you're doing is cheating." Something in my words triggered him, and he slammed down his bowl. "Clara, don't make it sound so ugly. Nina is just a kid. We don't have that kind of relationship. Don't make wild accusations." A kid. I felt like Ethan was only deceiving himself. The dinner ended in discord. I thought we'd be at an impasse for a while. But the next day, after returning from grocery shopping, I was shocked to find Nina sitting in our living room. She was wearing the slippers I had bought for our daughter, watching Ethan peel an apple for her. "Ethan, you're amazing, you can peel an apple without breaking the skin." "HMPH, it's nothing special. Here, eat slowly." Looking at that peeled apple, my heart filled with bitterness. He had learned to peel apples for me. I never thought he'd now use that skill for another woman. Nina sat happily on the sofa, swinging her legs back and forth. I noticed Ethan's eyes darkening slightly. That seemed to be what he craved. He pulled Nina over and held her on his lap. Just as their faces were about to meet, I pushed the door open. Seeing me, Nina didn't move from Ethan's lap, just tilted her head to look at me. "Oh, Clara, we meet again. Sorry, I twisted my ankle and Ethan is checking it for me. You don't mind, do you?" She twisted her foot, making Ethan grunt. I had been sheltered my entire life and didn't know how to fight back in that moment. Should I slap her like an enraged wife or scratch Ethan's face too? Neither seemed wise. Maybe I should just get divorced. After 20 years of marriage, I was entitled to a share of our assets. If we divorced, I could probably get several $1,000,000, then maybe find a young trophy boyfriend. Realizing how outlandish my thoughts had become, I paused. I wasn't sure whether to be amazed at my own patience or to restrain my longing for freedom. After considering, I put the groceries on the dining table. Then I said to Ethan, "Let's get divorced." Ethan refused, claiming he hadn't committed any fundamental mistakes. He even rallied relatives and friends to persuade me. My in-laws, whom I had cared for 20 years, said he hadn't physically cheated and suggested I be patient. They offered to make him transfer 5 of the company shares to me. Our mutual friends said the girl was only after money, wouldn't my leaving play right into her hands. Ethan's business was thriving, and his net worth was increasing. Who would be foolish enough to give up such wealth? My best friend was also going through a divorce over her husband's infidelity. The only difference was that her husband was poor and unattractive. She sighed and advised me to forget about it. All men who could breathe would cheat, and at least Ethan was rich. You see, wealth seemed to be a get-out-of-jail-free card, absolving all marital transgressions. I remained silent, continuing to prepare the divorce documentation. My father rushed over when he heard the news and greeted me with a slap across the face. His face flushed with anger. "What man doesn't have business dinners? So what if he has a woman or two? Hasn't he treated you well your whole life? Must you end it with divorce? You're 40 now, who would want you after a divorce?" He looked ruddy and well-kept. Clearly, my stepmother was taking good care of him, and my younger half-brother was well-behaved. Naturally, he had no concern for my pain. The last person to try to dissuade me was my college-aged daughter. When she came home, my instinct was to hug her. But she pushed me away. "Why are you insisting on divorcing Dad?" Despite being confident in front of everyone else, I suddenly felt small. "Your father has another woman. I don't want to continue living with him." "You mean Nina? Dad said she's just a friend." My daughter looked at me impatiently, her expression identical to Ethan's. "Mom, you've been pampered all your life. Could you really handle life after divorce? If you can't adjust, don't come crying to me." Honestly, before she came home, I had always believed that at least this child, whom I had raised with my own hands, would give me a hug. She would angrily demand to know why her father was mistreating her mother, then stand firmly on my side and draw a clear line with the cheating man. Instead, she stormed in, unleashed her fury on me, and then ran upstairs in a rage. Slammed the door closed with a thunderous bang that made even my soul tremble. "Clara, how did you end up like this?" That night while I was showering, Ethan entered the bathroom after a long while. It had been exactly a year since our last intimate contact. When he came in, his eyes were cold, but his hands didn't stop, expertly exploring my body. "Don't be angry, okay? I'll send her away tomorrow. She'll never appear in front of you again." My body gradually warmed, but my heart grew colder. I closed my eyes, letting tears mix with the shower water. "Ethan, did you sleep with her?" The answer was already clear and anger surged within me. "You really disgust me." Nina was about the same age as our daughter. If he had found a woman in her 20s or 30s, I could understand it as male nature. But he chose a girl the same age as our daughter. She was so young, just starting in society, how could he bear to take advantage of her? Ethan grew angry and shoved me roughly away. I felt a sharp pain in my ankle, but before I could look, he grabbed my chin and dragged me to the mirror. "I disgust you. What about you? Aren't you disgusting too? Look at your messy hair, where's any trace of femininity? Look at your breasts, they're practically hanging to your stomach and your face, covered in age spots that make people sick to look at. Clara, do you look anything like a woman anymore?" He roughly grabbed my breast, his eyes cold as frost. "We'll muddle through like this. I promise you'll want for nothing your entire life. If we divorce, you'll wish you were dead." Long after Ethan left, I was still trembling. I couldn't believe the man who had loved me for 20 years could say such things. Perhaps he had changed long ago, but I had been blind to it. I clenched my fists tightly, letting blood drip from my palms. The intense pain sharpened my mind. "Ethan, you think I have no recourse and you can do as you please. Just wait and see, I will get this divorce." The next morning when I came downstairs, Ethan had unusually made breakfast. Our daughter was eating, and upon seeing me, she lowered her head, clearly not wanting to speak to me. Ethan played the good guy, gently coaxing her. "Vivian, didn't we agree yesterday to forgive your mother?" Only then did my daughter reluctantly say, "Mom, the child was tired from traveling yesterday. Come eat something, I made your favorite sandwich." He met my eyes, his gaze filled with undisguised smugness. Soon after, the doorbell rang, and the housekeeper showed Nina in. "Mrs. Foster, good morning. I've brought some documents for Mr. Foster." They shook hands without any pretense, and my daughter showed no concern about this, instead warmly inviting Nina to join them for breakfast. Nina hesitated slightly before turning to sit in my usual place. As if to spite me, Vivian placed my breakfast in front of her, then poured her a glass of my favorite orange juice. Nina also tried her best to please Vivian. As they chatted about school, they discovered they were alumni of the same university. "Oh, Vivian, you're so nice, I was afraid you'd dislike me like your mother does." "My mom's going through menopause lately, she's paranoid. She keeps insisting you're having an affair with my dad. Don't mind her." Throughout the meal, the two became fast friends. From the moment Vivian called me paranoid, I stopped paying attention to their conversation and walked out the door. I needed to find someone, a classmate I hadn't seen in over a decade. My first love, the top lawyer Graham Good. At the cafe, I brought up the divorce with Graham. He snorted, "You're actually willing to let go?" Even at this age, his temper was still terrible. If he had been gentler back then, would I have broken up with him? Not wanting to waste words on the stubborn man, I took out a card from my purse. "I've asked around, your market rate is $1 million. Here's 500,000. I'll give you the other half after the divorce is finalized. Let's treat this as a transaction, no need to bring emotions into it. Graham played with the card in his hands before slipping it into his bag. All right, my generous client. On the way back, he offered to drive me. Over the years, he had lived much more frugally than I had. I heard his wife had passed away from illness a few years ago, and they never had children. He threw himself into his work, building a successful career and becoming the city's top lawyer. Graham's car was a flashy Maserati that made quite a noise when driven. I couldn't help but frown. At our age, why do you still like such showy things? I wondered how his wife had ever been attracted to him. Graham raised an eyebrow. Didn't you used to like these things too? Have you forgotten? That caught me off guard. In my 20s, I did enjoy flashy things, but who has the energy for that at 40? His stamina was impressive. Not wanting to continue the conversation, after getting out of the car, I transferred him another 300. CC, for the ride. All right, my generous patron. Though his car was ostentatious, Graham taught me a lot about preparing for divorce. Following his guidance, I investigated Ethan's bank accounts and hired a private investigator who found the address where he was hiding Nina. That apartment was one I had bought before our marriage. We had lived there during our dating years and the first few years of marriage. Later, after Vivian was born, we hired a housekeeper and needed more space, so we moved to our current villa. I hadn't visited that apartment in years, and Ethan had hidden her there. I found the key and chose a day when they were out to open the apartment door. Inside, everything remained unchanged, except for some additional items. It was clear Nina truly wanted to marry Ethan. Their photo hung behind the sofa. On the dining table sat a crocheted doll she had made. In the kitchen, a pot of soup was being kept warm, if the pose in their photo hadn't been similar to mine from before. If the doll she crocheted hadn't been my favorite orange plush. If the soup she brewed hadn't been my exclusive recipe I'd developed for Ethan's stomach problems. Then perhaps I would have applauded this loving couple. But I had only shared that soup recipe with my mother-in-law, which meant, besides me, only she knew it. Now it had appeared in Nina's residence. The consecutive betrayals made me wonder if I was truly such a failure that everyone around me would hurt me without hesitation. As I struggled with my emotions, the door suddenly opened. Nina walked in happily. She turned and threw herself into Ethan's arms. Great news, Ethan. I'm finally going to give you a son. Ethan stroked her face affectionately, then looked up and met my eyes. For the first time, I saw panic on Ethan's face. He certainly hadn't expected to encounter me here. But now I felt oddly calm and took out my phone to start recording. Seeing this, he tried to grab it, but I stopped him. Ethan, think carefully. This apartment has security cameras. If I pull the footage, you'll both be disgraced. Ethan took a deep breath. After years in business, he was accustomed to controlling everything. Faced with this unexpected situation, he instinctively felt irritated. Clara, stop this nonsense and go home. I want a divorce. I won't divorce you. Stop dreaming. I want a divorce. We're going to the courthouse tomorrow, or you can both prepare to go viral. What are you making a fuss about? Have you thought about our fathers, my parents, our daughter? When he mentioned Vivian, I completely broke down. I grabbed a vase and smashed it violently on the floor. Shut up, don't mention them. I rushed over and slapped him hard. You bastard, you didn't think about them when you cheated, when you got another woman pregnant. But now that I've caught you red-handed, you want me to consider them? You're such a hypocrite, how can you be so good at excusing yourself? You're just an old beast who can't control himself. You disgust me and now you want to silence me? Let me tell you, forget it, either divorce me tomorrow or we'll fight it out in court, it's your choice. I went straight to Graham's law firm. He happened to be free and arranged an office for me, even bringing me water. What happened? You look furious. Don't ask. I just confronted the mistress face to face, and that woman is even pregnant. What are you thinking now? Just thinking about it made my blood boil. What can I think? Does thinking even matter now? Graham paused, pushing the water glass toward me. That small gesture immediately extinguished my anger. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have snapped at you. He shrugged. It's fine. The customer is always right. Graham explained that the current situation was highly favorable for me. I had taken photos inside the apartment, and with Ethan having a child with another woman, this constituted marital infidelity, which would be advantageous for the subsequent property division. My mind felt chaotic. I couldn't describe what I was feeling. When I left the law firm, he offered to drive me, but I declined. I wanted to walk alone. I walked in the park for 2 or 3 hours. On Friday afternoon, only a few scattered people were walking in the park. There was a couple who seemed very much in love. When the man was taking photos of the woman, he didn't forget to lean in and kiss her. Once, Ethan and I had been just as affectionate. We met in school. We started dating in high school and became the recognized campus couple in college. The Foster family was wealthy. Ethan was handsome and academically excellent, and countless girls wanted to steal him from me. But he never wavered, not only giving me complete security but proposing to me in our sophomore year. In fairy tales, the prince and princess's ultimate destination is always marriage. So I never considered that. Compared to getting married, lasting a lifetime together would be even harder. After graduation, Ethan took over the company's operations and quickly multiplied profits. He traveled frequently. On the day our child was born, he was away signing contracts. My in-laws favored boys over girls. After our daughter was born, they urged me countless times, overtly and covertly, to have another child, but Ethan always blocked their pressure. Only because he worried I might suffer postpartum hemorrhage again. He held me high in his heart, and I lived safely in an ivory tower. However, I never imagined that the person lifting me up had grown impatient, not even giving me time to react. Nina wasn't actually the first girl to appear, but she was the first one Ethan allowed to show her face in front of me. He was testing where my boundaries lay for this marriage. Perhaps his final hope was to offend neither side. When I returned home, my in-laws were there, happily discussing something with my daughter. This child, whom I had protected so well, had no idea of the malice her grandparents harbored. Nina was surrounded by everyone, smiling sweetly. Ethan looked up and saw me. The red mark was still visible on his face, and his expression wasn't as happy as I had imagined, because he also saw the resolute look in my eyes. We had been married for 20 years and could understand each other without words. He suddenly darkened and said to Nina, "Go home first." The atmosphere immediately turned cold. Nina asked in shock, "Why? When I tell you to go, you go." In the Foster family, economic power decided everything. Ethan's words were like imperial edicts. Throughout this, the in-laws dared not speak, not understanding why he had suddenly changed his attitude. My mother-in-law gave me a dissatisfied look. Ethan called the driver, and Nina left, looking back repeatedly. Vivian grew anxious and shouted at me, "Mom, what are you crazy about now? Why make Nina leave? She came to see me, she's my friend." For the first time, I didn't hide my feelings and replied with a cold laugh. "You're friends with your father's mistress. It's a misunderstanding. There's nothing between them. Nina is pregnant with your father's child." Vivian's eyes widened. "Dad, is this true?" Ethan sent everyone away and sat across from me at the table. "I don't understand, Clara, why you have to make things so difficult." He scratched his head in frustration. "I told you, Nina won't affect your position. When the child is born, you'll be his mother. Our relationship won't change." I looked at him, wondering how someone could so righteously say such things. I laughed in anger and asked him directly. Ethan slammed the table hard. "Why can't the world work this way? Look at old Wang, 60 years old and still having women bear him sons, and his wife has to care for them postpartum. Look at Chairman Chen, he has an apartment in Hong Kong with a dozen mistresses waiting for him. What's wrong with me? I just want a son to make my parents happy. If you weren't in poor health, would I seek outside women? Clara, ask yourself, haven't I been good to you all these years? Your mother died, your father only cares about your stepmother and half-brother. I'm the one paying them to be civil to you. Every time you go home flaunting your status, isn't it because I'm backing you? At every class reunion, you wear gold and silver, spending lavishly with so many people envying and flattering you. Do you think it's because you're so great? They're sucking up to me, Ethan Foster. My mother pressures me every year to have children, and I always refuse, saying one Vivian is enough. Don't you think I want a son too? I'm running such a big business, should I just hand it over to outsiders? Are you too naive, or am I? Clara, know your limits like your friend said. Don't be ungrateful. The more he yelled, the louder his voice became. By the end, his face was filled with anger, as if I were the one at fault. I was so angry I laughed apparently. people really do laugh when extremely angry. I didn't know whether to curse his cruelty or laugh at my own naivety. What I once thought was 20 years of happy marriage was nothing but charity in his eyes. I looked up at him. His appearance hadn't changed much, but in my eyes now, he was ugly to the point of disgust. I didn't want to continue accusing each other in this cheating marriage. Right and wrong no longer mattered. What mattered was that I would get what I deserved, then divorce. I stood up and took out the documents from my bag. Since you're so dissatisfied, I assume you won't object to divorce. The agreement is right here, sign it. Ethan looked at me in disbelief. After everything I've said, you still want to divorce? Yes, I want to divorce. Fine, don't regret it. He quickly reviewed the agreement and with a wave of his hand, ended our 20-year marriage. After the 30-day cooling-off period, the first thing I did was move out of the foster home. When I packed up over a dozen boxes, most containing gifts from Ethan and high-end designer outfits, I realized how complacent I had become over the years, deserving the fate of a discarded wife. I thought for a moment, found a second-hand luxury store, had them take everything away to sell online at a loss, and donated the proceeds to the Red Cross. The second thing was to rent an apartment and find a job. This wasn't actually difficult for me. Despite having a housekeeper, I had always personally handled many matters related to Ethan and our daughter. I found a fully furnished one-bedroom apartment and moved in. As for work, before I could think it through, Graham sent me an invitation. He wanted me to work at his company as an administrative clerk. I didn't overthink it, having been out of society for so long. I did need a transitional job. After a brief rest, I went to work at Good Legal. Graham's company had over 200 employees, including 7 or 8 administrative clerks. My job was mainly handling company welfare and incentive mechanisms. The work wasn't complicated, and the salary wasn't high, only $5,000 a month, even less than the price of a handbag I once bought. But this was the first money I had earned through my own efforts. Shortly after joining, Graham asked if I would be willing to return to the legal profession. After graduating from university, Ethan had been busy with work, and our elders' health wasn't good, so I hadn't sought employment and instead devoted myself to caring for them. Later, as Ethan's income increased, he gave me control of the money and told me there was no need to work hard. After having our daughter, I didn't want to leave her to go to work. Looking back now, one wrong step led to many more. As I gradually disconnected from society and became easily predictable, being abandoned by a man seemed only a matter of time. I accepted Graham's suggestion, bought many books, and began seriously reviewing for the bar exam. During this time, my daughter tried to visit me, but I refused. I had already been crushed by the collapsing ivory tower, and it was time for my daughter to experience some hardship too. Even if she would fall, I needed to rebuild a stable haven. However, I knew everything happening at home. Susan, our housekeeper of 20 years, told me everything. Nina moved in the day after I moved out, acting like the lady of the house. She was young, pampered by Ethan, and had even dropped out of school, focused solely on becoming a wealthy housewife. Vivian finally came to her senses and realized Nina's ambition, but unfortunately, Nina was already pregnant with a son and protected by the grandparents. Several times, my mother-in-law berated Vivian harshly. Calling her a waste of money, a family line under these words drove Vivian to run away from home. Ethan didn't go looking for her and even cut off her credit card. Finally, Vivian had no choice but to return home and apologize to Nina. That night, she called me in tears. She lashed out, "What kind of mother are you? Only thinking of yourself, the homewrecker has moved in and you can't even play some tricks. Are you just going to hand over all of Dad's money to someone else? Won't you think of me?" I only responded calmly, "I'm studying for the bar exam," then hung up. Vivian blocked me and returned to school early. I ignored the outside world. Those thick exam materials were almost worn out from my studying. Graham laughed that I had returned to the study mode of 20 years ago. Finally, on an early autumn day, I entered the exam room. The day I received my certification, I got a call from my daughter. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe, unable to speak clearly. Though I had been cold to her before, she was still my flesh and blood, so I immediately prepared to go to her school. Graham heard about this and offered to drive me. So we drove through the night to Vivian's school, only to learn that her boyfriend had cheated on her. After finding out about my divorce from her father and her stepmother's pregnancy, this opportunistic man had immediately hooked up with another woman. Vivian had always had an easy life and had never experienced such humiliation. She felt like her world had collapsed. I helped dry her tears and asked, "Do you know who the girl is?" Vivian shook her head and said, "I don't know, just that she's from the school." I had Graham take her back to the hotel while I drove to my daughter's school. Based on her photo, I waited at the gate for that boy to appear. Fortunately, I didn't wait long before Vivian's boyfriend, Peter Sue, got out of a Mercedes. He walked around to the driver's side and said something to the driver. After Peter left, I looked up and was shocked. The person wore sunglasses and a mask, but I recognized her immediately. It was actually Nina, so my daughter's boyfriend was involved with her stepmother. Despite having enough chaotic events lately, I still felt dizzy. At the hotel, after hearing my account and looking at the photos, Graham suddenly said, "Could they be working together?" One dating Vivian, the other seducing Ethan. I called my daughter, wanting to talk properly. Vivian's eyes and nose were red as she softly called, "Mom." She no longer had her previous arrogant demeanor. Seeing her grieved expression, my heart ached. I hugged her. "It's okay, Mom's here, don't be afraid." She suddenly burst into tears. "Mom, I'm sorry." Only after experiencing betrayal firsthand could she understand how painful it was. My daughter had finally experienced it and developed a sense of female solidarity with me. My approach to her education had always been nurturing and guiding. But the foster family's wealth and the excessive praise she received made it easy for her to lose herself without enough willpower. Fortunately, life had given her a severe lesson, waking her up in time. And fortunately, I had restrained myself from blocking that slap meant for her. Vivian told me about Peter, saying he was a scholarship student and an orphan who grew up on charity. He had excellent grades and once rescued her from harassers on a rainy day. They gradually fell in love and started dating. I asked if she had told Peter about our family situation. Vivian nodded. Peter was hardworking and always talked about his difficult past. To comfort him, Vivian had shared many details about her family, even telling him that she was her parents' only child and would inherit the foster fortune, promising to take care of him. This foolish daughter had invited a wolf into our home without realizing it. I felt frustrated with her and wanted to scold her. As I raised my hand, Vivian flinched. She knew I was angry. Graham intervened. "Learn from your mistakes. The child understands now." I glared at him. "Spare the rod, spoil the child. What if she makes such mistakes again?" Graham played the mediator. "She won't. Vivian knows her mistake, right?" Vivian immediately nodded and looked at me appeasingly. This man, despite having no children, he certainly had a way with words. With nowhere to direct my frustration, when no one was looking, I pinched him hard. I hired a private investigator to look into Peter and Nina's relationship. The findings were astonishing. Even the baby in Nina's womb was questionable. According to hospital records, Nina's baby was already 6 months along. But 6 months ago, Ethan had been on a business trip abroad, and I had accompanied him. This meant Nina and Peter were playing a bait-and-switch game a month later. Vivian took leave to return to the foster home. Upon entering, she nearly tripped over baby items scattered on the floor. My mother-in-law was beaming as she unwrapped a gold bracelet to put on Nina's wrist. Seeing Vivian return, Martha's face showed disgust. "Why are you suddenly back? Dropped out of school?" "This is my home. Why shouldn't I come back? Whatever, suit yourself. Anyway, all the family assets will go to your brother in the future. Study or don't, it's up to you," Martha said dismissively. Nina also pretended. "Vivian, you're back just in time. Your father and I are getting engaged next week. Which ring do you think looks better?" My daughter rolled her eyes and went upstairs. She was used to her grandmother's preference for boys over girls and, following my instructions, went to the study to get something before leaving. As she came downstairs, Ethan returned. They met face to face and Vivian turned to leave, but Ethan grabbed her. "What? You see your father and don't even say hello?" Vivian replied irritably. "Don't you only care about your son? Why bother with me? Who taught you to talk like that? I'm your father," Ethan frowned. "Oh, so what?" Ethan was speechless at this non-violent non-cooperation. For some reason, he felt the look in his daughter's eyes contained a hint of pity. This look made him uncomfortable, though he couldn't pinpoint why. As he was about to press further, Nina suddenly called from inside, saying the baby was kicking and asking him to come see. Ethan's attention was immediately diverted, and he turned to enter the room. In his hurry, he failed to notice the document folder and suitcase in his daughter's hands. That evening, Vivian and I lay in bed talking. She asked what I planned to do about her father. Not wanting my child to develop psychological trauma about marriage, I told her I wouldn't retaliate against her father. On the contrary, I would save him. My daughter sat up and asked, "Save him? Why, for you? Although your father and I are separated now, you are his child and have legal inheritance rights. I can't sit by and let others take advantage of him, leaving you with nothing." She seemed unsatisfied with this answer. "If that's how you feel, why were you so determined to divorce him?" I touched her innocent eyes, which resembled Ethan's the most. "Because I love myself most, and I won't accept mistreatment in love. But you're my second love, and I'll protect my daughter's interests as much as I can." "Is Mom selfish for putting my own feelings first? Mom hopes you'll never sacrifice yourself for children or money in the future, okay?" Vivian nodded. "Mom, I'm really sorry for how I treated you before." "It's okay, Mom loves you." Soon, the day of Ethan and Nina's engagement party arrived. Many friends and relatives attended, most wearing either genuine or fake smiles, congratulating Ethan on his double happiness. As the bride, Nina was very proud. Even more outrageous, she had invited Peter to the event, seating him at the friends' table. Just as Nina was clinging to Ethan's arm to toast Peter, I arrived with Vivian, followed by Graham, who insisted on watching the drama unfold. The awkwardness of that moment could only be fully appreciated by the three of us who knew the truth, and Nina and Peter across from us. Ethan saw me, and a flash of amazement crossed his eyes. These days, without having to care for the elderly, I had begun to take care of myself. I had grown long curled hair, used part of my divorce settlement for various cosmetic treatments and skincare, and with Vivian styling me in a mature woman's look before we left. Even Graham seemed entranced, let alone Ethan. He walked over and asked, "You've come to celebrate." Most people here had attended our wedding and our 10-year and 20-year anniversary celebrations, so when I appeared, many expressions turned somewhat playful. I tilted my head and looked at him. "I've brought a gift. A health gift package for you." I handed over a brown envelope. Just as Ethan was about to reach for it, Nina snatched it. "What's this, Clara?" I smiled. "Oh, it's his medical report from before the divorce. I forgot about it." Under Ethan's confused gaze, Nina opened the envelope. The report clearly stated that Ethan's vasectomy reversal surgery had complications, temporarily leaving him sterile. It recommended he seek medical attention promptly. Nina's face gradually turned pale and her hands trembled. What does this mean?" Ethan saw it too. He frowned, grabbed the report, and examined it carefully. The more he read, the worse his expression became until his voice grew hoarse. "So I couldn't have children at all, then? Whose child is in your belly?" Nina pretended not to know. "Yours, of course. This report must be fake. Impossible. Clara and I had this checkup together. One phone call can confirm the results. She has no reason to lie to me. Are you saying I'm lying to you?" Nina gritted her teeth, refusing to admit. "We were together 3 times that night. How could I not get pregnant? The doctor must have made a mistake. The baby in my womb is yours." Ethan paused, his gaze darkening further. "That night, we were only together once. The company had an emergency, and I went back to work." He slowly approached Nina. "Those other 2 times, who were you with?" "I know." Vivian seized the opportunity to fan the flames, producing the photos I had discovered. "The next 2 times, Nina was with my boyfriend, Peter." She threw down a stack of photos showing Ethan and Nina ending their date, followed by Peter meeting her, the two entering a hotel together. There was also a report showing Nina was actually 32 weeks pregnant. My former mother-in-law stood stunned for a good while before charging over in fury. "You slut, how dare you make a cuckold of my son?" Peter rushed forward to intervene, but was immediately floored by Ethan's punch. The entire room descended into chaos, and I slipped away with Vivian and Graham. The subsequent events made headlines throughout the city. Nina miscarried during the altercation. Her former mother-in-law was so angry she was hospitalized, and with her history of strokes, her condition was concerning. Ethan's business wasn't greatly affected, but he became withdrawn, suspicious of any woman who approached him. He desperately tried to repair his relationship with Vivian. However, the impact of these events made Vivian develop a strong aversion to marriage and men. She resolved to dedicate herself completely to her scientific research career and work hard for her future. How should I put it? Her intentions were good, but there was no need to be so extreme. Regarding her fixation, I didn't rush to persuade her. I've always believed parents are mirrors for their children. If you love life, give your all, and show kindness to your child, they will naturally absorb the good aspects. During my internship at the law firm, I worked diligently, striving to complete every task Graham assigned. Soon, I became the most outstanding among the intern lawyers in my batch. When I received the company's annual bonus, I couldn't help but shed tears. This was the first time in my life I had delivered a satisfactory result through my own efforts. In the future, there would be more such achievements, each better than the last. After the annual party, Graham confessed his feelings, but I refused him. I patted his shoulder, comforting him. "Boss, we're both in our 40s now. Stop thinking about romance, we should focus on making money." Graham said through gritted teeth. Fine, fine, fine. You've rejected me once again." This time, however, he said it with a smile. At our age, love is no longer the only option, nor will we easily get entangled in such intangible things. We continue to move forward firmly, aiming for the stars and sea. Naturally, Ethan tried to find me. We had been married for 20 years, occupying nearly half of each other's lives. After being severely hurt by deception, he almost instinctively wanted to quickly return his life to normal. He stood with 99 roses, driving his Cullinan, waiting for me outside the office. At that moment, I was discussing a case with Graham, speaking animatedly. Ethan approached with the roses. "Cheng Cheng," Graham suddenly shuddered beside me. "Where did this ghost come from in broad daylight?" His tongue was so sharp, I gave him a side eye, then turned to look at Ethan. "Mr. Foster, what brings you here?" He looked uncomfortably at Graham before awkwardly saying, "I'd like to invite you to dinner." A man his age pursuing a woman so humbly was surely unusual, especially for the high and mighty Chairman Foster. I looked at him and smiled. "I'm sorry, I have a case-related dinner tonight. I can't make it. Then, tomorrow won't work. The day after, that won't work either." Ethan's eyes reddened as he pleaded softly, "Clara, won't you give me another chance?" "Me, what? Want to make me wear green again?" No, 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 I swear there will never be another woman. I can sign an agreement if I cheat, all my assets go to you." "I don't care about that. Besides, your mother is still waiting for a grandson, and with my health, I can't have children." "Then let's not have more. Vivian is enough for us." Ethan, thinking there was hope, quickly promised, "When she graduates college, I'll arrange for her to join the company. The entire Foster empire will be hers in the future. We can live happily like before, okay?" I don't know when Ethan became so blind and arrogant, as if he just had to turn around and I would be waiting for him. Unfortunately, in this world, no one is indispensable, and not everyone is focused solely on money. I still remembered those suffocating days, his ugly face, and how I was completely alone when I needed support. Once he was my sky, and when that sky fell, I was nearly crushed to death. Now I could stand on my own. These candies and roses could no longer tempt me. I took a rose, brought it to my nose, and smelled it gently. How fragrant just the scent made me feel joyful. I looked at Ethan, and my gaze must have been particularly bright and clear. "Ethan, my life is good now. I'm satisfied and don't need you to complicate things and bring bad luck." With that, I turned and left without looking back. After just a few steps, Graham followed me with a playful smile. "Case-related dinner? Who's hosting?" "I haven't heard about it." "You are, of course. As the boss, it's normal for you to treat your capable subordinate to a meal." Graham smiled. "You're right. Let's go, boss is treating you to lobster. By the way, for that North River case commission, could you give me an extra percentage point? You're already getting quite a bit." "I know, but last night when I came to your place for the case meeting, you in a bathrobe was too indecent, causing me psychological damage. I need compensation. Weren't 8-pack abs enough for you to see? Where were the 8 packs? I clearly only saw one." The two slowly walked away, while Ethan gradually lowered the flowers in his hand. His Cheng Cheng seemed a bit different now. No longer gently serene as before, more like a thorny rose blooming with unique beauty in the winter sun. He finally understood they could never return to how they were before. Epilogue: the year Vivian was in her first year of graduate school, her father remarried. His new wife was also a wealthy heiress, widowed in middle age and forced by her family to remarry. She was accustomed to a luxurious life and had never had the right to rebel. The two had a cold relationship, and the following year, the stepmother gave birth to a son. Grandmother had passed away before the new year, unable to see the grandson she had longed for day and night. Grandfather was quite happy and often came to visit, but the stepmother knew about the foster family's past and didn't want him to come too frequently. Vivian joined the school's top practice group, with only her among 8 men. The pressure was immense, and she often broke down writing papers. What distressed her more was that the most capable person in the group was a naturally gifted player. Others couldn't solve difficult problems, but he could easily handle them, even improve the entire process. At 1 in the morning, Vivian hid in the corridor, complaining to her mother, who just laughed. "Sweetheart, no matter how you do, Mom is proud of you. You should know that the group itself is the best. You just need to do your best and have no regrets. Don't be too hard on yourself, okay? If worst comes to worst, come back and Mom will support you." Mom just won a case and earned a $20,000 commission. Vivian was stunned. "That much? Mom, you're amazing. Mom thinks you're amazing too." Suddenly, there was a faint mumble from the other end. "Are you done yet? My hand is getting sore." "Just a moment." It was actually Uncle Graham. Hadn't Mom rejected him? Just as she was about to ask, Mom quickly hung up the phone. "All right, Mom needs to handle a case now. We'll talk next time." Despite her quick fingers, Vivian still heard her mother's following sentence. "Graham, good, we're discussing a case, put your pants back on." Uncle Graham was so impressive after pursuing Mom for so many years. He finally made progress. Vivian tilted her head back and sighed. "I wish I had a muscle-bound hunk too." Just as she was about to enter the lab, she heard movement in the hallway. And there was Vivian, fresh-faced, making eye contact with the gifted player, Warren Joe. 3 years later, Vivian married Warren. Her stepmother's child was already 3 years old and liked to cling to her, but Vivian disliked her father and wasn't close to this half-brother. After graduation, she stayed at the university as a teacher and bought a house next to her mother's. Every day after class, she and Warren walked home hand in hand. Uncle Graham's wife-pursuing plan seemed to have paused recently. He hadn't appeared for over a week. Mom wasn't in a good mood, always looking worried. Vivian encouraged her to go to Uncle Graham's large villa. Mom hesitated briefly, but rushed to Graham's home that evening. Only then did she learn that Graham had been distant for a week because he had a tumor in his head. It was as big as an egg, and they didn't know if it was benign or malignant. From the moment the tumor was discovered, Graham had planned everything, even his funeral. He could even joke with Mom, saying that after he died, she could find 5 young men to live in his $1.5 million villa. Over the years, Mom's temper had grown twice as strong under Uncle Graham's spoiling, but now she was incredibly calm. With red eyes, her voice cold as ice, she said word by word, "Fine, I'll also invite 2 handsome men to dance on your grave." The surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. During those 3 days, Mom took meticulous care of Uncle Graham at the hospital. After the tumor was removed, it was sent for testing. Fortunately, the result was benign. The day the report came back, Mom proposed to Uncle Graham at his hospital bedside with a ring. That middle-aged man trembled all over as he cried. After a while, he awkwardly gave her the middle finger. "Mom." Soon after, they got married, and I casually posted about it on social media. My father saw it and called. "Your mother got married?" "Yes, she did. Congratulations." "Oh, is she happy now?" I looked at the distant couple, laughing and playing on the balcony, my lips involuntarily curving upward. I said softly, "She's doing well, always has been." Every woman who prioritizes loving herself in marriage will live exceptionally well, because they aren't climbing plants dependent on men, but rather like century plants with strong vitality that, even after falling in midsummer, can stand up on their own and grow freely in the wind.